Blind people of Reddit, what is sexual attraction like for you? Okay. I'll share. I am currently legally blind in Texas. I specify the state as the definition of what blind is changes from place to place. I used to be completely blind, and before that I think I fell into the category of visually impaired. Because of this, my perspective is probably different than a person who is fully blind. Voice and personality are the two major traits I look for. This may be a blunt way to put it, but as far as figure is concerned, once you get to that point, it's rather amazing to me that what feels the best to the touch, curves, isn't really what many find appealing to the eye. My wife is an extremely beautiful woman. I know this because I talk to her and she talks to me. Looks matter a lot less when love is involved, but where that started is mostly that she wasn't afraid to date a guy that will, probably, never drive a car. And will likely have a lot of eye-related surgeries in the future. For me, sexual attraction is in the voice and temperament, not so much the looks. I'm curious because a friend of mine is blind. But she would always be attracted to the hottest guys. I'd be like, but how do you know? Edit. Lots of great responses. Top answers. Confidence and pheromones. Cool stuff. Thanks everyone for the food for thought. Edit 2. I saw all of the hilarious comments asking my friend directly so we can get a real answer on this thread. Honestly, I definitely brought it up with her before, and I remember she laughed and answered with some vague non-committal thing and then brushed me off. I'd say the answer is probably the guy's confidence in the way he carried himself, which were mentioned in the responses here. Cheers everyone. It's been a super interesting thread and I hope you guys all have a good night. Maybe you just think that hot guys are hot because they look hot. But really they look hot because they are hot. Maybe you should ask her and tell us so we can get a real answer on this thread. Not blind. But my brother is. He has told me that since he went blind, accident at age 20, he has realized how much of his attraction even before he couldn't see stemmed from others' voice. That's all it might take for him to take an interest. And from there it's all personality. And boobs. Edit. Getting all this sweet karma from my brother's misfortune. I'm totally going to rub this in his face. You'll never see it coming. I'm legally blind. Which might not be exactly what OP is wanting, but oh well. I can see people's faces. If I'm standing a foot away from them. My so has told me that he's never dated anyone that touches him as much as I do. If we're laying on the couch or in bed, I'll stroke his face. Touch his ears. His stomach. His hair. He's gotten to the point that he generally doesn't notice me doing it, unless it's his stomach. As that's a erogenous zone for him, and really I didn't notice I did it until he pointed it out. I've always been very dependent upon touch. Though. It drove my dad nuts when he'd take me out on errands because I take my time walking through a store. Touching anything in reach. Also, for those who've been curious, I'd use software called ZoomText that can do some really neat stuff to make using a computer possible. Including reading out loud to me. Which can be hilarious. Once it read out the word Indianapolis but pronounced it Indianapolis. Silly robot. Edit. Thanks for all the love. Friends. You made this blind chick's night. We have a winner. Well, I'm not completely blind, but I'm legally blind at least. Anyway, I hard time making out distinct features. So my attraction is usually based on hair or clothes or just more easy to spot things. I'm told I tend to be very physical also. Always preferring to have at least a hand touching my so. Also, I see a lot of talk about ZoomText, which is indeed a godsend of a program, but let's not forget about AeroZoom. Also incredibly helpful for the visually impaired like me. Serious, tag might have helped. Scientists discover unlikely cure for blindness. Amazingly, blind people are able to read words that appear after a serious tag. This post is dedicated to all of the impatient people commenting on this thread. BTW. All of the comments are hilarious. I love it. Background. I am legally blind. 20/200 vision in my good, a relative term, eye, and completely blind in the other. I have a guide dog as well. So, let's get to it. Sexual attraction. For me, involves more physical closeness with the ladies and more touching. I pay more attention to things like how they smell. And their voice. 2. I obviously tend to use my other senses. So naturally this makes sense. Yeah. I can check the girls out all day. You know. The whole blind person wearing sunglasses stereotype? Yeah. I exploit that and have no shame about it. Also. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to brush you when I walked by. Totally intentional. Any questions you have? Just ask. TL. DR. What are you? Blind? It's not that long. Use your eyes and don't bitch about it. My grandfather has been blind since he was 20-some. He swooned my grandmother by pinching her ass and calling her toots. Are you sexually attractive? Yes. Sounds good to me. Boom. Then the romance happens. My cousin is blind, 100% blind. She has glass eyes, and last I heard she is waiting to be proposed to. When she was talking about her boyfriend, she mentioned things like how nice he is, his music taste, how thoughtful he is, random gifts he got her. Perhaps for her, sexual attraction is strongly linked to the person's voice. She is a professional piano player and is always talking about music, so sound is very important to her. An attractive voice might equal an attractive person. Well, while we're waiting for blind people to respond, I dunno. Anyone wanna hang out? Seeing eye dogs of Reddit. What is sexual attraction like for your master? Rough. This is going to be the most highly upvoted question that has no real answers. Keeping my fingers crossed nonetheless. People wondering how blind people will read this, let alone respond. Braille. Those nipples tell novels. Reddit likes to think it's an open-minded, intelligent group of people who have a good worldview, but then a post about people with disabilities comes up and you'll just tear brick. How do blind people even browse the internet? Really? This might be better posted in our blind. Unfortunately, Reddit does not work terribly well with the most common screen reader, JAWS, and since so much of it is images, not my blind people find the site to be worth the effort of owning a second screen reader or dealing with what a nuisance it is for them to use Reddit. Upvote for visibility. That's low, man. Curious to knowing how a blind person will see this post. Braille. Done. Follow-up question. How do blind people use Reddit? Not being mean. I'm genuinely curious with virtually no filter.